Okie dokie. Welcome everybody. So I just want to kick it off today with some recent wins and also deal updates. Mr. Drew Kingsley, there's a deal that you've been negotiating on and that sort of thing with the broker's help directly to the seller. Like, what's going on with that?
I think I got my seventh LOI out late last week, and I asked the broker to, ask him to counter. Right, I think this is my last LOI. I'm negotiating against myself here, so he's meeting with him tomorrow, I guess. So we'll see.
Mhm. Yeah, so I think that so basically they're saying like, no, that doesn't do it for us. And then you can just keep like basically changing things, resubmitting, and you're not getting responses.
Yeah, I mean, it's clear to me they don't know what they want. They're certainly overpriced. They just dropped the price a week or two ago.
Hmm.
Um, and so they'll meet with the broker and review the offer, and they're like, well, we kind of don't like this or that. So the broker comes back to me with some guesses, some observations. And I was like, well, I guess I'll try again. He's like, okay, we'll look at it. So
Hmm.
I said, I think I'm done with that. Have him pencil it up, send it back and we'll see if we got a deal.
Yeah, so Drew, what terms you at right now in terms of the most recent LOI you submitted?
Um, but they asked for, well, let me see. I sent three the first time. One was bank financing, one was cash, and one was seller financing. And
Hmm.
they said, okay, but we need some cash at closing, so give us 200K at closing. And I said, okay, and that's when I tried the deferred interest. The cash payment would be deferred interest and no payments for 40 months. They didn't like that. They wanted more skin in the game and maybe some cash flow, which they didn't mention before.
Hmm.
So then I said, okay, trying to remember how I went back. Um, they reduced the price for an amortized payment. Um, and then this last round, they asked for um, maybe that was the last round. So
Yeah, it's hard
yeah,
to keep things
because
straight.
they asked for more down. They said it's not even 20% down. Well, I only gave you what you asked for, but now they're
Hmm.
asking for more. So
Hmm.
um, so we'll see what they say after our meeting.
Yeah, I'd say not enough pain here. So yeah,
Yeah.
no pain, no sale. So it's like you did your last shot.
Mhm.
In my words, just like let it rot for a while.
Yep.
And then it could be months they come back because like with the carrying costs and all that sort of thing, and the fact that it's like a state type of a situation. Because yeah, it'll just drive you nuts.
Yeah.
I've been there before and gotten into that trap. So
Mhm.
okay, cool. What are the recent wins you guys got? Well, David Congo, you got a recent win.
Um, well, when you definition of win, I did follow up on two of the properties that you identified, and I got high level financial information on one.
Mhm.
But the one I was most interested, she said she was going to send it again to me today, and she still hasn't. But one that I like the most is in Bloomfield, New Jersey,
Mhm.
but it has two office spaces, and that to me looks interesting. I think there's a motivated seller, as they say. So that one I want to put some time on the calendar with you and go through the numbers a little bit. I haven't done anything in the template yet on that one because I just don't have
Mhm.
anything to go with. Um, the one I did run some preliminary numbers on was the first one. It has three or four residential units and two small office spaces, but it's new construction, so
Mhm.
it's completely empty. They're still working on getting the CO. Um, the numbers I did run didn't make any sense. So I think the ask price way too high, but I need your help to how do you manipulate the spreadsheet? What is a proper bid? What would make sense from my perspective. Um, so from those are the two things that I looked into this last week, and I'm following up on some of your contacts. I was able to talk to the one guy at the credit union, and he seems very, both guys I spoke to at that credit union were like, yeah, we want to do business with you. We want to make loans. I mean, it's almost the flip side. If you talk to residential brokers like at Chase or Bank of America, it's like pulling teeth, and but these guys were like, yeah, tell me what you're looking to do, and we'll try and make it happen. So it's like sort of night and day just on the attitude. Now we'll see, devil's in the details, but we'll see how we'll go from there. But so far so good with those two guys at Visions.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah, and and David, a win is like obviously you woke up this morning, so that's a win for everybody. But it's any type of action that you can take to move the needle, right? Whether it's contacting a broker, underwriting a deal, submitting an offer, meeting with a potential investor, like all of those types of things to move the deal forward. So you have a few wins here, and this is the thing is that with the community banks, the reason why they are motivated is because they don't have enormous deposit bases like, let's say, a Bank of America or Chase, and those banks don't lend out, do deals in, like, let's say, your sort of like secondary and tertiary markets. Okay, they're doing they're like lending money to it, like Nvidia or like and like private equity companies. So yeah, and then they need to get interest income in order to just keep the lights on, right? And federal credit unions, they're nonprofits, and they need to generate a spread between what they pay depositors or what they pay the Federal Reserve over the counter. So they need that loan flow. So well, yeah, definitely like keeping the loop. And then Jim Taylor, you have a win recently.
Remind me what that is.
Oh, come on. You're getting so many wins, you just can't even keep track of them.
Yeah, I
Okay,
don't know
so
about that.
so you made an offer. That's definitely got some points on the board.
Yeah, I'm always making offers, but I mean, are you talking about the auction?
Yes, the auction, correct.
Oh yeah, well, that went into bankruptcy court this morning, so that got canceled.
Oh, really? Okay,
Yeah,
let's talk about this. So it was a foreclosure, and then the owner filed for bankruptcy.
yeah. Apparently, bankruptcy was granted, or at least the proceedings were granted in the 11th hour, so the
Hmm.
auction is off the table at the moment.
Okay. And then who is the bank that holds the note on this? Is it a community bank, or is like what's that about?
I'm not sure. I don't have the bank information.
Okay. Because one of the things when Jim and I were talking, and this auction came up, and the bid price was getting out of hand, and and we helped calculate like what the maximal allowable offer was, uh, actually literally on the back of this envelope. Um, and so I was like, Jim, even though it's getting out of hand, I just want to make sure you have a bid in, right? Because a lot of times it happens is that the auction house or whoever's administering the auction will keep track of who bid on the actual property. If you
Mhm.
don't bid on it, then they're not going to have any idea if the actual purchase and sale actually fails. Because there's some people that have never even visited this property before. They're bidding on this thing, and if you don't put a bid in, then they're not going to have anybody to circle back to in order to get a second pass at it. The reason why I was asking about the who the bank was that if you know who that is, okay, and it's a small community bank, and this thing is turning into a nightmare for them. Okay, the guy, like, this is like the slickest trick in the book to basically wait to the 11th hour, file BK bankruptcy, right, to kick the can down the road again, and this guy's just trying to pull as much rent out of this property as possible without paying any of the expenses. So kind of a backdoor approach, and this is like really out of left field, but something to look into, and just an idea to tender out there is if it is a community bank or credit union, um, is finding out, okay, do they hold this loan on the books and service the loan, because they may be willing to actually sell that loan at a discount
Mhm.
to its principal balance, and so then you can buy the note, do a workout with the current owner, or foreclose on them, and then you have more of a time, because like like these banks want to get these loans off their books before their fiscal year ends. So that's just kind of like an additional approach there, because I definitely like the deal. So
Mhm. Yeah, it was up to 1.5 million. So it was at 1.65 then with the premium. Um, so I don't know where that's gonna go. But yeah, I can do some snooping. Do you have anything that you can skip trace with as far as figuring out bank loans and things like that?
if you just go to public records, and the mortgage would have been filed in the county, and then finding out what the bank was is
Okay.
really it. So yeah, calling the county clerk's office, and finding out that information. You can also research like notice of default records. That's all public information to find out who the bank is. And then if it's like one of those like banks that that were they were a pain in the ass for you while have been trying to get some like term sheets and that sort of thing from, it may be one of those like small banks. And sometimes you can get a pretty substantial discount to its unpaid principal balance.
I have
So
a feeling it's Huntington would be my guess, but I'll have to delve in because the auction agent, I think she was with Huntington for about 15 years. Um, so we'll see. I'll
oh
find
sweet.
out.
Yeah, if that auction agent is an actual person, I would reach out to them first.
Yeah.
So because yeah, it's when they file bankruptcy, that can they have to like restart the process and all that sort of thing.
Mhm.
It's a complete freaking nightmare. So, and typically they just don't want to deal with it.
Yep.
All right. Any other recent wins, guys? Look at the names here. Okay, all right. So I'll go into mine. All right. So I finally got my investor committed for the Tallman acquisition, that $750,000 raise I had to do. So that's great. And we were bringing them on as a partner, right? And the way that we're structuring the deal is, and I'm going to go into like how I cultivated this relationship and all that sort of thing. So then you guys can kind of like copy and paste this type of like framework into what you guys do, all right? So, so they're going to fund the full $750,000 in the form of equity. Right, we're giving them 19% membership interest, not only in that property but the other two that we own. Okay, and then they're going to get a 10% preferred rate of return on their investment capital. And also, they're willing to offer an additional credit facility of an additional $750,000 at 10% preferred rate of return. Their equity stays at 19% because they don't want to sign on the debt personally alongside myself and my partner David. And so we're just so now what I have to do is that we walked one of the neighboring properties that my development consultant in this deal did next door to there with this prospective investor, just to get her more comfortable about, all right, the development consultant that we have is a key member on our team. Okay. And is infinitely more adept and skilled at historic tax credit deals, utilizing different funding sources and grants to get this conversion development project done from these old office buildings to residential apartments. So we wanted this investor to meet them, okay, and then also walk through the building that they had did. So they were able to see some units in that building. They were very, very impressed. And I was able to actually get all of her questions answered to this. His name is Joel, is the development consultant, Joel Barrett. And so, and like, have him identify, what are the risks associated with the project? What could go wrong? What are the biggest challenges you've had with the projects that you've done in terms of the historic adaptive reuse like projects and all that sort of thing? So just to get her comfortable with like the key members of the team and actually seeing something like tangible, being able to like reach out and touch it, something they've done before. So we brought her back to my office, which is actually like right across the street from this building. And so we sat down and I said, and I'm always giving my investment partners, like, this is my way of like tying them down again and again. You'll hear me reference like getting a double tie down and a triple tie down. And every time that I'm answering additional questions that she might have. I'm always asking like, hey, are you sure you want to do this? Are you still interested? It's completely okay if you're not. So just being, low pressure, but asking for that commitment in kind of an indirect way over and over again. And so we brought back to the office. I said, listen, are you, are you like more scared than you were before, or are you more enthusiastic about doing this deal with us? Right. So no, I'm very, very enthusiastic for doing this. So thank you for setting that up. So we have all the bullet points of the partnership agreement, right? So what we're going to do is I'm going to do this tonight. I'm going to take those bullet points, flip it over to my attorney, who's going to draft the operating agreement and all of those things. And then and she asked like, well, should I have my attorney take a look at this? I was like, yes, absolutely. You want to have independent counsel on this. So I'm always coming at this from this aspect of, I want you to be protected. I want you going into this like with both eyes open. So being very, very transparent is really helpful to really solidifying an investment partnership, especially with somebody that you haven't done a deal with before. So we're going to do that so we can flip it over to her, over to her attorney, and then finalize that and hopefully close by December 10th. Right. So where did this relationship come from? Right. We had never done any deals before. I'd never done any like hard money with this person before. And, quite simply, I had them on my podcast a couple of years ago. Okay. Now, you don't need to have a podcast in order to do this. Okay. But that's where a relationship started. And so the reason why I mentioned the podcast is because, people like to tell their story. They like to tell their background and, and their triumphs and their tribulations, that sort of thing. So that was a way of actually giving value to somebody, being like, hey, your story is really important. I want you to tell this to my audience, right? There's other ways you can add value to somebody just by just old school Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Has anybody read that book before? How to Win Friends and Influence People? Okay, Drew Kingsley has. All right, Todd Reed. Yep, Rob Jones. Absolutely.
Life changing
Yes.
video for sure.
Absolutely. So taking an interest in somebody, can actually add value, right? A lot of people are like, well, how can I add value to like a multimillionaire and that sort of thing? There's numerous ways of doing that. And then I asked this person to come in and speak to an investors group, and like all of these things, right? And just kept in touch with her. And so when I was melting the phone lines on, trying to raise the capital for this deal, and if you were following this story, it's been a scramble because our main investment partner got, incapacitated by getting crushed by a tree. So, which is not the ideal way. So but the main part of the story is that it's like, hey, this is what can happen if you put all your eggs in one basket, counting on a particular relationship, because stuff like this can happen. And so, so I presented her the same thing, high level, that I did everybody else. And she was the one that was most enthusiastic about it. She has experience with essentially like, taking up large positions of a lot of single family houses in areas that are pretty much overlooked by investors and turning them around. She's like basically flipped the neighborhood of Beechwood, which is a neighborhood in Rochester, which is like rapidly gentrified. The city of Geneva, New York as well. So she's going to be a very, very strong partner in this equation, because this is something that she's used to. She's used to being kind of like a contrarian, where there's a lot of investors that are very, very, I guess, apprehensive or skeptical about downtown Rochester's revitalization. Okay, so she's going to not only be able to bring her capital to the table for this deal, but also has the experience in really knowing what to expect, and obviously expecting a lot of surprises. Okay, this is not going to be a linear path type of development project. So that is my win. Obviously we haven't closed yet. Things can change between tomorrow. She could wake up and absolutely hate this deal. But I have two backups on funding the deal. One I had mentioned before is a institutional hard money lender that I've had a relationship with a long time, that they lend at 16% interest, which is like not ideal, but they do 16% interest for 1 year. it's just $120,000 in finance charges over 1 year. Is just like it's just like I've never borrowed money that expensive before. And then another private lender that would lend it to us at like 14% interest and 2 points, but we'd have to make monthly payments on a property that is not cash flowing right now. So that's the latest and greatest with that. Any questions on that scenario with getting investors as part of your ownership group? Yeah, David.
I think I could do better than 16% if you're interested. Maybe 14, 15.
Hey, Dave, we need to keep your dry powder. So you're gonna do some big things. Yeah, so I guess like how you can, take this. It's like we're getting into the holidays, right? We're gonna have Thanksgiving coming up next week. All of you are going to be seeing, hopefully, people that you don't have the chance to see face to face or belly to belly, very much. Okay. I know some of you are, shudder at the idea of asking friends and family for money or professional contacts, that sort of thing. But you're going to have, holiday get-togethers, work get-togethers, like all of those things, right? The key is that you're not asking for money. All you're doing is you're telling your sphere of influence about what you're up to next. And ideally, what I like to do is I like to set up one-on-one meetings after that. All right. And so, but at the very least, like a lot of times those people will, if you tell them what you're up to with the next 12 months and you said, hey, I'm looking to take some people along for the ride with me. If we find a deal you really liked a lot, would you be interested in hearing about it? A lot of those people will guide you in the direction of like, hey, Vlad, if you ever had an opportunity and I could help, like, let me know. Okay. And so definitely don't waste the opportunity. And I know that you're going to be circulating around whether it's work colleagues or friends and family, that sort of thing. They should at least know what you're up to. Okay. So that when you do have an opportunity, it's not coming out of left field. And what I always like to do is whenever I'm in a networking meeting is just making one new friend. The other win that I'm gonna stop talking soon. But the other win that I had this week was I'm involved with a lot of like policy advocacy on housing and public safety around our area. So I was in a room yesterday with our local county sheriff, and I didn't know a single person in that room of people that I sat down with yesterday. And whenever I'm going into a room like with people, I always want to make one new friend. All right. So I basically I didn't get much chance to circulate around because this was a discussion that was run by the actual Monroe County Sheriff. But at the end I had to jet out, and I picked the guy that was sitting across the table from me, and I just said, hey man, like I'm Matt Druin, you're in the electrical contracting business, like what kind of jobs do you focus on, that sort of thing. And so we exchanged each other's contact information. And the thing that I loved the most is I looked up this guy's LinkedIn profile, and we have no mutual connections, which is awesome. All right. Because what I want to do is I want to breach completely outside of my sphere of influence and start to build it and fortify it. Because when you start to build that constellation that's outside of your current sphere and there's no mutual connections, then that's really where some magic can happen in terms of like building that. So cool. I'm done. I'm done talking. Who made an offer this past week besides Jim Taylor? All right, Vlad, let's talk about it, man.
I got a couple offers made this week. One of them has already been accepted, but it's a small deal. The other one we're waiting for a counter on.
Okay. Yeah. Where do these opportunities come to you from?
Both from brokers. The larger one is off market at a meetup. Just a broker I haven't seen in a while. Mm-hmm. The smaller deal was actually on the MLS. They had a sale and the buyer backed out. And the realtor, before relisting the place, I guess someone mentioned that anything in Macedon, they should run it by me. And they called me. They said with this contract already in place, it was negotiated really well, significantly below asking price. So I did the deal. Still waiting for their council to approve the contract, but it makes sense.
Yeah, so off-market deals with brokers, like what's the secret? What's the secret sauce here? Did you just you went to a meetup and you saw this guy from across the room and ran over there? Like what happened? Like tell us.
No, this was just someone I've met before at several other events. Haven't seen him in a while. We just started chatting, and he remembered that I'm doing a deal in Rochester on Lake Avenue, and said, "Hey, I have somebody who wants to get out of a property just down the road." So
Okay, so a couple things I'm hearing there. I mean, there's like also the power of like of focusing on a particular area in an asset class. Like Vlad, you've carved out like Macedon, for instance, and now it's like maybe Lake Avenue and that sort of thing.
East Rochester is
And
their
East Rochester.
second home.
But yeah, just having that really like, and this is the reason why like when we onboard clients, we dive into like the scale box and building that, because this is how you build up momentum and you start to get more and more opportunities when you have like a very, very high degree of specificity over like what you're looking for: location, asset class, size, even occupancy, even showing like let's say a broker or even another investor is like, hey, here's actually like 3 properties that I know they're not in the market, but this is like exactly what I'm looking for. So you come across something like that, like I am a buyer, right? And if you're talking to another real estate investor, especially, I've really utilized wholesalers a lot because wholesalers do not have any commercial buyers. Okay, so if they come across something that is a commercial deal, and these guys are not afraid to bang on the phones and call 100 140 people a day, that they can become an incredible ally and tool in your tool belt to do it. And also you can help them make a lot more money than trying to shift around single family paper. So
Agreed.
yeah, Vlad, what do you got to say to that?
The more narrow you can make your buy box, the better. You get recognized as the guy in that niche. The tighter the niche, the better it is. At least that's the way I found it to be. So people seek you out because you're known to be the guy in that area or in that asset class.
Yeah, and those things can change too. I mean, you don't have to have like when you're focusing on something, it's not doesn't mean like you have like a life sentence to that particular thing. Um, back in the day, I was the buyer for small multifamily properties in this particular neighborhood, Park Avenue. Okay. When prices started getting out of control over there, I started like focusing over on the south wedge, which is a decent neighborhood, but it's a little bit less expensive. One where you could actually juice some better cash flow. And then it evolved to Matt buys like historic, pretty brick buildings. Okay, and then that's the type of shit that I get sent like all the time, whether I want it or not. So, and I don't get sent anything. I don't get sent anything else really. Well, I do get sent other stuff, but that becomes like it's kind of like you are what you eat. Okay, who else has been an offer this past week besides Jim and Vlad? Walked a property, walked a deal. So not made an offer. Okay. Not walked a property, analyzed a deal, and at least just gave the broker or seller feedback.
Matt, it's Mickey.
Yes, Mickey, go on.
So my virtual assistant found a deal. We've been looking in the state of Indiana. And so my partner got on the phone and talked to the owner, which is usually what happens is they're too busy to talk. This guy was very ready, and he's ready to sell. He had it on the market I think it's been off market 3 months or so, maybe a little bit more than that. But the offering memorandum, he sent it to us right away. Sent us some good information like the T12 and stuff.
Mhm.
So the numbers look good. And the main thing is that apparently the seller seems very, very motivated. The downsides are that it's a small storage facility in a very rural location. This guy has no competition, but that's because there's really nobody else around him. He is full. I don't see a lot of opportunity for growth, but what we did talk about today, me and my partner and my storage mentor, was that we had already talked that, maybe our worst problem is getting too many hot leads and too many deals. And the whole point of having the deal is to have the deal flow. And that doesn't mean that we all have the deal. So we are putting together an LOI. I'm putting it out tomorrow. And we're putting the top offer is, cash conventional, and then 2 separate seller financing offers. And what we're hoping is that there are people who do want to get into storage, and it's all about the terms. So if we can get a seller finance term with an amortization of 30 years or 40 years, somebody in our group actually got a 40-year seller financing deal. They walked into the deal, I think, with $5,000 or $6,000.
Oh, wow.
That's all they put down. So this seller has said that he has a ton of other properties that he might also want to sell scattered everywhere. And this guy lives out of an RV in Florida. So he's just liquidating. He doesn't want to have some of these loose ends, I guess. So he's motivated because he has tried to sell it and he can't. So he's willing to come down in price, and he does not need like a lump sum cash. He has enough. So he's kind of a very good candidate for seller financing.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing. So we don't walk the property. We, Google Earth. We did a FaceTime, all of that. Now we're not doing any of the due diligence, obviously. So my understanding is that I put together the LOI. If we do get to a PSA with this guy, we sign it. That's when apparently what my mentor recommends, and tell me if you, what is it, 60 days for due diligence? No. What was it? 30, 60, 90. I forget, it's not in front of me right now. 30 days or something, 60 days for financing and 90 days to close. That's what it is. Does that make sense?
I mean, our typical framework.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so Mickey, our typical framework for for LOI terms or offer terms is 30 to 60 days due diligence, 60 days close. Sometimes when you're talking about a smaller deal, getting 60 days due diligence is going to be very, very difficult. Because what the hell do you need to what the hell do you need that much time for? It's a 15-unit apartment deal. This is not rocket science here. And the reason why I don't have a financing contingency in there is because if I'm getting 60 days due diligence, then that gives me enough runway within which to get my bank financing committed on the property. Okay. If it's a seller finance deal and you already have, let's say the investment money lined up to take it down, then you may not have to push it out to 60 days, and the seller's doing seller financing, and that's kind of a lever that you can kind of pull too. It's like, hey, if you want cash, it's going to take us 60 days just to get the finance committed. We have no relationships in this market that are community banks that we know will lend to this deal, so we need some more time to get the finance committed. And typically, when I don't have a separate financing contingency in the contract, it's just I get the finance committed, I sign the commitment letter, and then the bank is legally bound to actually provide the financing, if that makes sense. Because the time clock can kind of get confusing between, you got 30 days due diligence, X amount of days financing, and then X amount of days close. I'd just rather have it due diligence and then closing time frame. But that's just me. Does that answer your question?
Well, the thing is that if we assign it, we're not really doing all of that work. Okay. Right. So we need time right off the bat, as soon as we sign the PSA, to assign it. You
Okay.
know, whoever the seller is, we don't need to tell him anything necessarily. We're signing, when we sign the PSA, we sign it Mickey and or assigns, right? So
Okay.
that's, you know, that's how we sign it.
Okay. So okay. So the plan here is to get under contract for the right price and then assign it and then earn an assignment fee.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Help you, defray your investment into running a VA and all that sort of thing.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Well, it just so happens that Peter and Mike are dealing with a wholesaler that has a commercial deal under contract that they're trying to assign it to somebody else. It's I would rather I'd rather bird dog a deal and just earn a fee off of it rather than getting a deal under contract, and then every buyer is going to have certain sticking points, especially in a commercial property. There's not like a residential single through four family deal where it's just like it's a boilerplate purchase and sale agreement that everybody's familiar with. Every PSA is completely different. So there could be some moving parts there in trying to assign a PSA to another buyer that's like, whoa, like we need whatever. We need 60 days due diligence and a 90-day close, and then you're going back to the seller and being like,
Right.
oh well, you know what, we changed our mind, we need to renegotiate. So what I'd rather do is just tell them, hey, we have this deal may not be for us, but we have we have a ton of people that are in our network. I know you guys are probably not brokers, but on commercial deals, you could bird dog it and earn a 3% fee off of it, or whatever you can negotiate with a buyer coming in on it. So because getting under contract, that's tricky because you're dealing with something like it's in a rural area. It was on the market before, so other buyers are going to see this on the market before. Didn't sell.
Yep.
The quote unquote motivated seller. And also, I think that also looking into, and you guys will have access to information, but how many square feet is the facility?
It's not very big. 12,000 net rentable
Oh.
square feet. Something, it's not big.
Yeah. So that's the other thing too, is that anything below 25,000 in the self-storage facility is like, it's kind of like, unless it's in an area that, maybe like could be a bolt on to somebody's
Right.
larger portfolio.
And that's why this guy is having trouble selling it, I think.
Yeah. So the size of it, and also, the other thing I would look at in terms of the metric is like, all right, what is the amount of square feet per capita in that current market?
There's nothing. It's very low. There's nothing. There's no growth. It's really not very enticing. It's just that for the right price, like if somebody wants to get into storage, which there are a lot of people out there, and then they don't have the capital, then a deal like this might make good sense for them. And if they are logistically, geographically not too far, that's, you never know who you hit. It might just be, it might be that. Now, our storage group, there's a member who is he's a wholesaler or whatever, and he works for the mentor basically.
Mm-hmm.
And today I found out that in any deal, he wants 50,000, 50 to 100,000 as his assignment fee. I was like, wait a minute, this thing might sell for maximum 600,000. So you're talking about $100,000 assignment fee? Like, I wasn't talking to the guy, but I mean, even 50, I thought was ridiculous. I was like, it's not a percentage, because they just don't want to be bothered. It's just so small. That's the problem.
Yeah. I mean, that might be the thing, is that, and the thing that's scary about like very rural areas where there's not much going around it is that so there's no capacity right now. I mean, generally speaking, I know that, like, I don't know a damn thing about self-storage. Mickey, that's your forte. But and correct me if I'm wrong, it's like if it's like below, I guess, like $6-7 a square foot per capita, then it's generally like an area that's underserved. And then once you kind of get above there, and you're like, like Craig Snyder, for instance, there was a self-storage deal that he sent to me, and I was looking at it, and it was $14. I mean, not $14, 14 square feet per capita for this particular market.
Yeah.
And I was like, Craig, there's a reason, and the seller,
Exactly. Yes.
and the seller is a self-storage developer. Okay,
Yeah.
so develop this deal, and like now he
If
wants to
they
sell it.
want to sell it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, maybe it's just one of those things like, you know what? I don't know. Maybe you can find somebody in your group that you can you can bird dog
Right.
it to, that's hungry for a deal, that's got cash ready to
Yeah.
go.
And there are some people like that. So my main thing is I'm writing the LOI. And so I asked, I was like, all right, we put in the same terms, 30, 60, 90. And then like what? We just, as soon as we put it out there, hey guys, like, you got to jump on it. But then 90 days could go by. And then I guess we do have that option to terminate it and get back our earnest money, which would be like 1% of the deal. That's what we would have put down. So that's where I'm at right now this week.
Yeah. I mean, it might be one of those things. Is like, you know what? It's too small, too rural of a market, not enough like velocity in that marketplace. It might be something just like, hey, this might be something we could use on on another deal RVA finds.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
no, but that's awesome.
It's another experience. I'm learning a lot. Yeah.
No,
Thanks.
100%. All right. So Mike and Peter, this 50 plus unit deal you guys are looking at with the wholesaler, what's the latest and greatest with that? Because I think if you guys had a phone call with the wholesalers on this sort of tricky situation. So
Yeah, for sure. We're kind of waiting for them to get back to us, actually. I just texted them about an hour ago or so. Haven't heard back from them. I was told that they had a phone call with the owner at noon today, which was a couple hours after I submitted the LOI. And we just haven't heard back from him yet. He said that he'd follow up tonight. So hoping we hear from him tonight.
okay. And then by the way that you have put forth the terms is that these wholesalers would have to renegotiate the purchase and sale agreement that they had with the owner, correct?
Correct. Yeah, like you said, it's since they have it under contract, it's not a bird dog. It's a little more messy, kind of, I guess, if you will. But the wholesalers were happy with the number that we offered, basically, and now it's just up to the owner of the property to see if he's willing to hold a seller second.
Okay. Yeah, so that they got it. Yeah, like I said, I know that you may not like when I tell you this, but just play it cool. This seller and these wholesalers want to sell this deal more than you want to buy it, right? So just like just playing it that way, and just being patient, you'll get a response.
Yeah, for sure. I'm not sweating it.
Absolutely. Investors that have been met with, most important thing is the investment capital piece. Who's met with an investor recently?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Who's met with an investor lately from the capital OPM infrastructure?
I met with private lender, but it wasn't really the 10% money. It turned into more like 14 and 3, and if his partner won't do it, he'll do it himself for less. So still might happen. And it's just like just in case type thing right now.
Okay.
But that was fun. But there's definitely an option. He was willing to lend on the things that I brought to him, some of my own portfolio stuff, just to leverage that at this point. So there's a couple other options too. I talked to Joe Scaraci. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, but I talked to him on the phone today, and he's like, "Send me your stuff. I'll look into it." So soft pull on the credit, but I'm gonna see if he can work forward without the soft pull and see what he feels like from the deal. So just put together P&L and all that stuff for my other deals, so it's all fresh and easy to hand over.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you said like from a backup scenario, you got somebody that's at the ready in the event that you can't find cheaper money then?
Yes, yes. So that
Okay.
that's sort of, it's like I've been so uptight about it, and then after a while I started realizing it's like there's people out there. Like I don't have to be so uptight about this, and uptight about some other things. And I was like, some people buy properties like this all the time. So it was like a funny realization I have, and then I just felt a lot better out of it. I don't feel as rushed, and I feel like it's more likely going to happen now than before, just by the change of mindset.
Mhm.
So just knowing that there's people out, meeting with it. This was before I met with him, but I knew he was one of them, and one way or another, I have options. So
Yeah, no, 100%. So what's the status in the current deal? You got your loan application in for the deal, right?
I got the loan application, and she sent me wiring instructions for the money for the appraisal and this and that. And I think her terms are good enough. She's super responsive, that I'm gonna follow through and just go with her.
Hmm.
She was the one from AmeriQ, and there's no prepayment penalties. And she calls me back in, minutes. And the other bank that I was looking at calls me back in days at a time. So it seems like they're
Yeah,
a lot more, she's a lot more on it. And that means a lot for me, because my seller is super motivated to close by the end of the year, which, may or may not happen. But if I could make that happen, it would be a big thing
okay. So you're like
for
you're
me
up.
anyway, to just, perform for, I don't know. It was like a challenge, and I'd be happy if I can, make that happen.
So you're abundantly confident that you can put together the capital stack in addition to this bank financing then before closing.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I got a couple different ways to do it. So
Okay. Yeah, this is one thing is in terms of like timing for payment of like third parties. Okay, third parties I'm referring to appraisals and environmentals. And also uh, sometimes banks will charge you a commitment fee that's due at signing the commitment letter. Some of them will charge the commitment fee at closing. I've had it to, both ways. I always want to make sure that I am like rock solid on like where my capital source is being committed before I start paying for those third parties. Um, and
mhm.
so, James, I'm just curious because this is like a package deal with properties are all clustered together. How are they pricing the appraisal? Because like it's like going to be a single family appraisal that's on like 30 plus properties. So how are they how are they doing that? I'm just curious.
I've been so busy funneling her stuff that I haven't asked that question specifically. But at the beginning, she said that when she puts appraisals out for bid, she has answers back in 72 hours. And
Hmm.
then, she's worked with appraisers before on things that were um, multiple things. And somebody else had told me that there's potentially they wouldn't look at every unit anyways and come up with a reasonable cost for it accordingly. So I'm not sure if that's actually true or that'll actually happen, but those are just a few of the things that I've come across in a number of people that I've talked to about it.
Okay. Yeah, because I'd be like, if it was like a standard appraisal, like, 30 some odd, 30 some odd units, or then it would be like, it's like, oh my God, like 500, $600 each should be like, 15,
Yes,
over
exactly.
50, like 15 G's for appraisal fees. So, uh, yeah, let me know when they come back with on that. I'd be super curious because
I'll
I've never done a deal where there's like it's like they're pretty much all uniform. So,
I'll send that email tonight. The other thought that crossed my mind today is what the stack of papers they show up at the closing table with is going to look like.
mhm.
It's going to be it's going to be more closings in one spot than I've done all to get. Well, let's see, it's probably close. A little bit more than all the closings I've done already. So
Yeah.
all in one spot at one time. So it'll be pretty interesting.
Yeah,
That'll be
definitely
a
take
hell
a
of a
pic.
picture to take.
Yeah, definitely take a picture, man. They'll just be like piles, like
Yeah.
they'll be up to your eyebrows. So,
Yes. Yeah. So I'm thinking, I see, some of this, the small deals are, 3 inches tall sometimes. And so this will be 30 of those. So it's 90, it's like, almost 8 feet tall. 3 inches a piece. I don't know. Who's going to bring, they're going to have to bring it. It's going to be like a Brinks truck or something, bringing it in. I don't know.
Oh, nice.
So,
All right.
yeah, yeah. So it's fun to go through all this. I've never done it before, and pretty exciting to hear all these things that other people just talk about and to actually hear them happening. So it's
100%.
getting closer, that's for sure. It's like coming super fast at this point. Like the whole world's like rushing past me. So pretty exciting.
Oh, nice, man. Um, Mr. Matt Bain, if you're here, there's a deal that they were talking about earlier this week, I think.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So what's going on with it?
So we volleyed it back and we're waiting for a response at this point. Not sure what to expect really, but another aspect of it is it's shifting. I'm looking to see what else can be wrapped into the deal as well. The seller mentioned another property that could possibly be wrapped into it. So the next step is to take a look at it and see what it's actually worth and see if there is another opportunity there that we can wrap in.
Yeah. So, Matt, how was the initial offer responded to? Like, what was the response? You said there's some value there, so you got a counter, right?
Yeah, so the the counter was not what I expected. The amount I knew was going to be a little bit higher, of course. And then the term, I had expected it to be a term of 5 years,
Hmm.
given the feedback that we originally got. But now we're looking at an accelerated term to about 2 years.
Hmm.
Uh, 2 years, and then a higher down payment is what
Hmm.
was countered, more or less. There were two options there, but I think that's kind of where we landed. Um, but all of that kind of got put on hold because of the potential for the additional property. What is that going to look like? Is kind of where we're at. I need to get eyes on it on the place, so we're trying to figure that out.
Okay. And the terms that you had sent over to me were like for the additional properties. It seems like he's looking for the same amount down. Did I read that right?
Oh no, he's so the original amount down was a bit lower. The original, don't quote me on this, but I think we were at like 200K, 200 and something, 200 and something thousand, and then he came back with closer to like 350.
Hmm.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's not unattainable,
Hmm.
but it's all just got to make sense, and
Hmm.
um, and that's kind of what I'm looking for at this point.
Yeah.
Um, but with the increased potential, increased scope, I don't know what that looks like yet.
Okay. Um, a 2 year term. So what did you end up countering back at?
Oh,
Like
I didn't
with
counter
your
yet.
term? You didn't counter
I
it.
didn't
Okay.
counter because, yeah, I didn't counter because I know that he's looking to likely sell both together.
Okay.
The property that I am interested in isn't as it isn't as well. I'll say the one that he's trying to throw in isn't as nice as the one that I want.
Hmm.
So, selling both of them at the same time is ideal for him because the other one that he's trying to loop in is a tougher sell. Um,
Location wise, condition wise, like what makes it the old maid in the deck?
well, because I haven't actually walked it yet. For me, it's entirely the location and kind of the outside. The condition of the outside of it doesn't look like well kept.
Hmm.
So I know that there's going to be some work. I know there's going to be some work there, but it's not that I can't do it. It's more so what kind of a challenge am I trying to face here?
Yeah. Um, I've done a 2 year term accelerated on seller financing. You got a couple of different things. It's like, yeah, you're gonna be hustling. I think that 2 years is enough time to turn around the property. The advantage is dealing with a seller as opposed to the bank is that you don't have to open up your kimono to the bank, right, on the purchase. So it's gonna be a lot easier. You have lower closing costs as a result of that. Um, and the bank is on a refinance, for instance. In my experience, is a lot easier to work with than on an acquisition, especially in terms of like the sources of down payments and your net worth and all of those things that they get cerebral over sometimes.
Yeah.
Um, So I don't think it would be that. I don't think it would be that but it'd be it would be an aggressive turnaround. Always my backup plan is, I don't know. I mean, I've had 2-year terms in seller finance notes, and it got close to like basically being like 6 months out from the term expiring, and I just contacted the seller and I'm like, listen, I need another year of time, so we can either negotiate some modifications on the existing notes, or you can tell me right now you can't do it. You need the cash, and I'll figure out a different way. And that's when I've actually brought it, like either done the actual bank refinance, or brought in a hard money lender to basically essentially like refinance it and bridge the gap. But you got some options there. I'd say 1 year for a property this size would be ridiculous, but I don't know. And Vlad, you've been looking at this deal, right?
Yeah. So essentially what what the counter was, that 60% seller finance. And I think the 2-year term, he wants an option to extend afterwards. So it's not a guaranteed payout at 2 years. He wants an option. So, yeah, the terms got slightly less desirable when the deal was passed on from me to Matt. But I think there's still room to push back on this guy. And both of the I understand his desire to sell it as a package. Both of the properties are in the same neighborhood, not far from each other. And his idea is that if he's going to cash out of the bigger one, which is significantly bigger, and travel outside of the country, which is what he's planning to do, he doesn't want to worry about one of the properties that's left behind, and still trying to deal with it remotely. That's what he's been doing for years with both of these properties. So he kind of wants the headache off his back. But yeah, it's I think there's still room to salvage this deal.
Yeah, so it's happened to me before, with like some rosy terms, and then they got pulled back after the seller got to think about it. So, but I think that just being patient on this, and if you get to an impasse, it's okay to walk. Sometimes they'll come back. Because sometimes like people will treat a negotiation like, all right, I'm going to stretch the rubber band. I'm going to stretch it as far as possible. And then when they realize that the rubber band broke, and then they're just like, and then you're just like, listen, man, we can't come to terms. That's okay. I'm not mad at you or anything like that. But it sounds like you got to look at this other property anyways to see what you're getting involved with. So, no, that's awesome, Matt.
2 years is doable. We did Lake Ave on a 16-month turnaround. So, also the biggest seller finance deal we've ever done. But I think 2 years is plenty of time to make enough equity there to refinance him out and his 40% investors.
Yeah, truth be told, I would actually prefer, just because I don't like how murky the water gets. Maybe this is just me being lazy, but I like the idea of potentially, if he's up to it, just a traditional sale. I'd be okay with it, but I don't know. I haven't mentioned that as a counter at all, but really just to avoid this whole ambiguity, I'd prefer a cleaner deal.
Yeah, no, I mean it's like you can use it as a negotiation lever as well, Matt. So, comes back, you look at the deal, it's like, hey, listen, man, like your terms are not any better than a bank. Okay. So I'm just gonna go with the bank. If you want to do something that's better than the bank, either with pulling the lever on lower down payments or lower interest rates and that sort of thing, like we can do that. But if you're going to charge me above that, like I am a very qualified buyer. I have relationships with lenders. They can finance this deal all day long. And you can just get your big pot of cash at closing. So that's another that's another thing to do too. So
Another suggestion is to use the private seller finance as the down payment, and bring it to the bank for the rest of it. Likely he's going to have to be in a second position for that, but he knows the property, so it might not be that bad of a deal for a 2-year, so that you could refi it out in 2 years again, having that mortgage already in place. That might be an easier way to do it.
Yeah, when we talk again, I'm gonna try to punch back in at that point in the conversation because I'm trying to wrap my head around what that means. Seller financing for the down payment.
Yeah, so if you get 75% LTV mortgage from the bank, that 25% plus closing costs can just come out of the seller finance. So you won't even need all of his 60% that he's offering. Does that make sense?
But you're talking
So
about
sort of
him
like
taking back
concessions, correct?
Not in the concessions, just seller finance 25% of the deal, which would be enough equity to close on a 75% LTV mortgage.
Okay, I got you. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, and also Matt, I mean, I know you got to look at this other property he's got that he wants to sell as well. But if there's like whenever I've gotten into a thing like where a seller is like, hey, I want to take a mortgage, I want to defer some of my capital gains and all that stuff, and they give me terms that are just like, I want 50% down, I want 10% interest and that sort of thing. What I do is I get a term sheet from my bank. I was like, hey, this is what my bank is willing to do. Okay. I have a good relationship with them. They could do the deal. So we can either do terms that are better than this, whether it's lower down payment, lower interest rate, whatever, or I can just do the bank deal, and then but yeah, and also Matt, we can talk about if this guy wants to hold some paper and defer some of his capital gains, then if he wants to take a second and be in second position to the bank, right? And if you're using a community bank, the way that you can take out the seller second on that 2-year term is assuming that you created the equity spread you need to for the deal. That bank that financed the acquisition for you they have no problem put a second mortgage behind their first and use the proceeds from that second mortgage to pay off the seller second. So, but we can talk about that and like run through those scenarios too.
Okay.
Any questions, guys, about what we talked to tonight? Anything that you're deeply wondering before we cut out? Okay, we'll see you all next week. Vlad will be doing a guest takeover for me. I'll be in Disney World the first week of December. So God have mercy on my soul, as they say. So
see you all next week.
All right, peace, everybody.